Good evening. It is Thursday, 26th of October, 2023. It's coming up to 2025 in the evening. And this is the 45-day show 01212. Got to a dozen of these shows already. It's amazing. I've got two very special guests today. One is a guest I've had on before, and he was on my mental health talk show, Part of My Journey, Rival Self, talking about the album that's literally just come out. In production and what was going on then. And then we've got Kista from Soundweight Records, who puts that album out, but also puts out a ton of amazing 45s. I'm a big fan of the label. I've bought quite a few of them. And we thought we'd have a chat about all sorts of things. So here we go. Good evening, guys.
Hello. Hey,
pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much for coming on.
No worries.
Cool. So I think the first question, you sort of talked a little bit about it, I think, Mike, in the first episode, I can't remember, is how did you guys connect and how did you first sort of get to know about what you were doing each?
All right. Do you want me to do this? I'll do this. You want me to do it?
Yeah, you do this.
Yeah.
Do it.
Or maybe both of you do it and then you can like say, well, it was like this. No, it wasn't. It was like that.
Oh, there's Pete straight away. Such a lurker. Right.
Hello, Pete.
Hey, Pete. He's a lovely man. That was really insulting. Let's get rid of that. Yeah, so I obviously hadn't met Neil prior to me doing this album. I'll try and make this brief. I might not. I started making music again after many, many years, blah, blah, blah. And my friend Matt, wanted to hear it. And I was really reluctant for ages. I said, I don't want to do it. I don't want to play it to anyone. It's just going to sit on a shelf, probably on a burnt CD. But he just kept on at me. And eventually I sent him an email with some files and he sort of phoned me up immediately. He was like, what are you doing? Come round. And yeah, he enjoyed it. And he started quizzing me almost about as angry as Matt can get, which isn't very angry because he's lovely. But he said, you have to do something with this. You can't just leave it at home. And that was what I was going to do. And I was just like, no, I'm going to leave it. It's not whatever. I'm not interested. He then gets out a bit of paper, which he rarely does, and starts sort of writing down ideas of who to send this to potentially or who to approach this. And I was just like, no, please don't. No. I can't remember how the evening ended. I went home. A couple of days later, he forwards me a voice note from that man there, that wonderful human being, who was just raving about me. Sorry to, yeah.
Well, hold on. Let's pause it there. Okay. So that voice note, that voice note that you sent, what was it that you heard that made you decide to make that voice note and get in touch?
Well, I was at the park with my little boy, and my phone went, and it Matt had come up. I was like, oh, what does he want? And that, so I answered it. We just started talking, and basically said, look, I've got this album here by a friend of mine that I reckon it sit really well on the label. So it was like, can I send it over? And I was like, yeah, definitely. And I think he sent it over the same day at about tea time, and I didn't listen to it for a couple of days because I was super busy. And but when I heard it, I first heard it, I was like, yeah, it was mind blowing. My type of stuff as well. So it was like, I love that instrumental type of vibe. So instantly I was like, yeah, let's do this. So yeah, and then came the voice message. So
yeah, amazing. But yeah, because obviously you as a record label owner and DJ hear so much music. When you do hear something that's right for you, you just know straight away, don't you?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I mean, it's like anything. I try to do things a little like, obviously there's like the genre side of things, and then obviously there's the instrumental type of stuff as well, like the more produced stuff, and then there's like the more rap stuff. But yeah, it's kind of like, I like to kind of do a mixture of different things, etc. So
yeah, nice one. So Mike, you've had that voice note. Where did it sort of go from there?
Well, I got that in the car park of the Range when I was getting pens. Right. And I was just sort of listening to it. And I sort of turned to Natalie and went, "Listen to this," and it was just a bit weird because it was like suddenly this guy has said, "I want to put it out," and that to me, I still can't get my head around it. It's there, it's behind there. I can't do this. There, I still can't get my head around it.
Oh, hold on.
The fact that there it is.
There it is.
That's even neat. Yeah, there you go. But yeah, it's out in the world, and people have bought it, and people are talking about it and saying incredibly nice things, which is just amazing. And it's not something that I anticipated. It's not something that I planned to put out into the world. But yeah, it's wicked. I don't know what to say really, but yeah. It's been a crazy week. The amount of messages and stuff that I've had and sort of names. I'm not going to name drop, but there's people that have messaged me like, bloody hell. It's quite mad, but yeah, wonderful. Thank you, Neil.
That must have been great. But I mean, it's also about the artwork as well, isn't it? Because obviously we'll sort of talk about some graffiti stuff in a bit, but I mean, it's just first of all, it's a thing of beauty. I mean, look at it. It's like the record itself and the label on the record looks like it's from, say, like the 1940s. And then obviously you've got this dark thing on the outside. Yeah.
It's well, I mean, art. I've always drawn, illustrated stuff. And like you say, when you mention 1940s stuff, the way I illustrate is kind of like I can't remember some of their names, but like old pulp pen and ink artists. It's like that, I suppose. Which I guess I was influenced by when I was a kid. But yeah, I've always wanted to do everything myself and just control everything. And somehow the person that was interested in putting it out was just like, go for it, just do whatever you want, which was just, I think I don't know, but that must be unheard of these days. It's just incredible. I've been so lucky, it's great. So there you go.
Say good evening to Melting Pot 68. Thank you and welcome in. So, okay, we'll pause the story about the album for a minute there. Neil, let's go back to the beginning for you, because I always like to ask my guests who first got them into music, at what sort of age, what sort of music it was, and whether it was brothers, friends, parents. So for you, who first got you into music?
It's probably my dad, really, because he had a pretty decent record collection. When I was a kid, I remember like he had the hi-fi in the living room, and they had all types of stuff like Dark Side of the Moon, Are You Experienced, by Jimi Hendrix and things like that. So I kind of had that at an early age in my headphones, sat in the living room, and I think first time I heard Dark Side of the Moon, it was like, woo, things like that. So yeah, that would probably be my earliest influences. Would be my dad's half decent taste in music. Yeah, it was good.
And then when did it get to the stage when you're starting to sort of buy music, and is it records?
Well, luckily for me, because my mum's Welsh, so we used to spend a lot of our time going down to Cardiff, maybe 3 or 4 or 5 times a year to see a brother, a sister, and stuff like that. So for me, going down in the late 80s, I'd go down on the train and I'd see all this like crazy like lettering on the side of the track sides and stuff going through Sheffield and Birmingham and Bristol and things like that. And my cousin gave me a copy of Electro 8, and there was a song on it called Cosmic Blast by Captain Rock.
Woo.
And that was it. The first time I heard that, I was hooked. That was it for me. It was like complete life-changing moment. As cheesy as that sounds, it was like, that was it. I just wanted to explore and find more of this type of music and stuff like that. So yeah. And that
was down in Cardiff. So that's where you're hearing this. Is that right?
Yeah, that was the first. I mean, I'm from Scarborough, but like I say, my family is half of my family lives in Wales. So yeah.
Okay. And so then, where were you getting this stuff when you were trying to locate it? Did you have record shops around you that were selling Electro 8 and equivalents?
I managed to get hold of a few copies of the Electro albums through my cousin in Cardiff, and then just kind of luckily there was a massive record shop in the market and I'd only been about 13, 14, and that was when I first started, getting into buying records. I managed to find a couple of cheap John Carpenter soundtracks, which, I managed to get the Fog, and Christine and things like that, which, I was into that type of stuff as well. So getting them at an early age was like, pretty influential, along with Alan Howarth as well, who played alongside John Carpenter on them and type of things. So yeah, that kind of went from there, really.
Did you ever see? Sorry, mate. I'm intrigued. It's all right. We're not live. Don't worry about it. Did you ever see John Carpenter live? Did you see him when he did his tour here?
No, I really wished I did as well.
Well, you're a loser. I did. No, it was wicked, man. It was obviously.
Yeah, I was gutted I didn't get to it. So, but yeah.
Sorry, continue.
No,
because the thing is, isn't it, that when we think of now, you can sort of access pretty much any style of music you like. So if you found that Electro 8 album, you could pretty much at a push of a button have all of the music around it. Because back then, you had to go and find other stuff, didn't you?
Yeah.
And it had to be on vinyl, really. It wasn't, CDs hadn't really they were just about there, weren't they, I think?
Yeah, I mean, it's completely different now, isn't it? I mean, obviously, times change and that's the way it is. But yeah, back then, I think obviously graffiti kind of came in around the same age, and I just kind of loved that and just collecting, early hip hop, everything from JVC Force, all that stuff, when that started coming over to England and stuff. Yeah,
Cool. And did that then lead into DJing? And when was that?
To be honest with you, I wouldn't. I've always DJed, but I wouldn't say I'm like I just like playing records. Basically, up here we just used to put a lot of nights on. Like obviously, just so we could just all gather together and play all new music and stuff like that. And then obviously I started doing the Stone Penguin things, which was more, as time went on, a lot more like, Funk 45s and stuff like that, like the breaks we used to use and stuff for sampling and things like that. It just kind of escalated to that type of thing.
Nice one. Well, let's pause it there and then we'll talk about the label after that. So, Mike, coming back to how things are at the moment, I mean, you're saying you're getting a lot of messages, not telling us necessarily who they are, but what does that feel like? And it must be quite a good feeling to feel that you've produced something that you spent a long time and a lot of effort and a lot of passion. So yeah, talk us through that. How is it feeling at the moment?
It's just it's surreal. Like I said earlier, I didn't make this to put out into the world for anyone to hear, really, necessarily, apart from probably Natalie and the cats, But so it's quite bizarre. It's although it's an instrumental hip hop LP, I don't even know if you can call it hip hop, whatever. But it's very, very personal, and I think when you hear it, you can kind of get what I'm trying to say with each track, and it's a lot of stuff that I went through, and it's so specific. There's so many tiny little elements that no one will notice at all, apart from me. Like even the specific types of birds that are on a certain track are very relevant, so that you know what I'm talking about. The woods one, and there's a heartbeat, but it's a specific heartbeat. It's a heartbeat of a panic attack, and it's it's unbelievably nerdy, unnecessarily so, but also it had to be that way, otherwise it just wouldn't work for me. There's even, this is mad, no one will pick this up. In the Rain track, the petrichor thing, there's just a random Morse code bit in it that I put in there, one to create a nod to sort of the old psychedelic tracks that they always put, not always, but they put like a Morse code bit in quite often in whatever. So that's a nod to that. But I actually made that Morse code to say, go out and have fun in the rain. that, which is insane. What's the point in that? But there it is. It's on the record.
Right.
So,
Love
so
it.
that's the type of levels we're talking about, Anyway, I don't know what the
But
question was.
that's why it's so personal, isn't it? It's almost like a documentation of parts of your life for that period of time, isn't it?
Yeah, I described it as a sonic documentation of change, which Neil liked. But
Yeah.
but that's true. That's what it is. It's me completely changing into a different person to who I was many years ago, but with no intention of putting it out publicly. But people have been all over it, and it's amazing and humbling and just a beautiful thing. So yeah, thanks.
A lot of joy. You put out joy and you put out vibes, and then it's nice for it to come back to you, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's nothing. It's not anything that I've experienced a certain amount of that before, but that was through sort of DJ battles and just a different thing. But I've never experienced it on that level, and I suppose that was probably on the cusp of pre-internet. I suppose I don't know, but nowadays it's people like Pete there who keeps messaging. I've known him since probably MySpace days, but I've only met him recently. But it's I don't know where I'm going with this, but anyway, yes, it's all very good and it's beautiful. Thank you.
Well, we've got a couple of clips, and these are videos and video reels that have been going.
Oh man, yeah, I need to big this dude up
on that. So let's talk about who's done the animations, and then obviously we'll play one.
Now, you want me to talk about it now?
Yeah. Talk a little bit about how. Well, let's play one, and then you can talk about it.
Okay, yeah, cool.
Let's do that. Right. Okay, here's one.
We must see what you dream.
Dreams are behind you.
Oh, glitched, but that's all right. No worries. You get the idea. So these are by a friend of mine that I met when I was living in Brighton called Al Hodgson. He's on Instagram. He is just an unbelievably talented filmmaker. I met him through skateboarding because obviously I've skated and stuff. He's quite a bit younger than me, but he came up. To I don't know. I skated with him a lot, but he's always made videos, skate videos, but with sort of analog equipment or just taking something and screwing around with it in the sort of way that I mess around with, tapes and all that sort of stuff. But he does it with visuals and sonics as well. But he's incredible, and he's everything he puts out, no matter what it is, the tiniest little clip will have so much effort put into it, which again will just go over most people's heads. But it's just incredible what he does. I could be here for hours, which I won't be, talking about how he does some of it. But I said to him, we haven't been in touch for quite a while because I've moved away. But I messaged him and said, look, I'm doing this LP. I know you're really busy because he works for huge people now.
Yeah.
Good for him. I know you're really busy, but if there's any chance of you doing me just a little promo thing, just a tiny little thing with the album, whatever. And I can't remember exactly what he said, but he basically just said, I'll do a little video for each of the 10 tracks.
Wow.
And I went, okay, well, we're going to have to pay you. I'm going to have to do something. He's point blank refused to take anything like from me or Neil, which is incredible. And we haven't released this detail yet. We haven't released all of these little loops yet, but the last one I'm going to release, there's a full length video for one of these tracks that he's done. He just out of the blue, once he sent me all these loops, he just sent me a link. He went, "Yeah, have a look at this," and it's a full length video to one of the tracks. It's absolutely mind blowing, and he's even now talking about doing visuals for when I do shows. It's it's madness. The dude is an absolute hero, and I massively recommend you check out what he does. He owns a skateboard company now called Owl Skateboards. It's called Al Hodgson. It's not, it's the way I say it. Owl, as in, a bird. Skateboards. But his videos, even if you don't particularly enjoy skateboarding, they're beautiful pieces of work. His videos, it's just, he is a dude. Can't thank him enough. And next time I see him, he's getting a big hug for sure. He's amazing.
Yeah. And Kista, it must be great for you to have this album on your hands, on your label, but also all these visuals as well. Because again, it's great to have all three, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lie. I mean, he Mike WhatsApped me the clippets a bit back, and I was absolutely blown away because it was almost like it was meant to happen. They were like perfect. They fitted with the music, and like visually, I was just like, whoa, when I seen them, I was proper blown away by them. And I just felt like I just said then, it was meant to be, definitely, because I think the way it's been promoted, it's all just fitted together, like dropping different segments of each tune over the build up before we dropped it was like, and with having them type of visuals, I just felt like it was like super, perfect. Everything seemed to fall into place in that last month before we dropped it. It was, definitely.
Well, let's have a look at another one.
I will talk to you of art, for there is nothing else.
No, you're supposed to do it all. That's what it is to be human.
I mean,
he's amazing. What was incredible about a lot of his stuff was I trusted him implicitly, and he kept coming back to me saying, "Look, what do you want? What do you want?" And I went, "Look, I know that you're going to smash this. I know. Just don't worry about it." Because he wouldn't say it. He would have been worried because I'm quite pedantic, especially with visuals or anything like this. I'm really specific. But I just went, don't worry about it, which probably would have given him heart palpitations. So I should have probably given him some guidance. But hey, so he.
Sometimes you need just a small brief, don't you? You need just a small brief just to get you going.
I knew. I gave him I did give him a little bit to work on, but he came back to me, and everything he came back to me was absolutely exactly what I would have done had I have had the time. I mean, it was perfect. The one that's getting put out tomorrow is even so specific as, actually, I'm gonna do this on a video later because you haven't seen it yet, and whatever. I'll get into that. But yeah, everything he did is just mind blowing. The one about love, the tiny little bit where the needle goes into the vein in a microscopic. Oh my God, it's just beautiful. Yeah, he's an amazing, wonderful human being. So,
But it's also almost a reaction to how you have created the album to the way how he has created the visuals, isn't it? Because obviously it's like what's the word, when they used to get like tape, because you're using tape to record loops and things like that. But it's like the original sort of cut and paste, isn't it? They'd cut bits of tape and sort of put it together, and he's almost doing the same with visuals, isn't he? Sort of
I mean, everything he's got is from sort of archived material. I mean, really old, decrepit. It's just, I love it. It's great. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah. Splicing is what we want. Let's have one more.
What does it all mean? What does it all mean?
I'll give you all the answers.
I mean, are you joking? That's ridiculous. Just mad.
Right. I mean, we do this with records, so I am going to pull it up.
What does it all mean? What What is a dong? Dong.
I'll give you all the answers.
I mean, that's like you say, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah,
Ridiculous.
yeah.
So how good it is.
Yeah.
And imagine, like you were saying about doing live shows, imagine doing that in like,
We've been talking
Yeah.
about possibilities, and it's mad. I'm not going to get into it just in case, but wow. So I mean, when I put that to him, visuals for a live show, I was anticipating something being projected behind me. Oh no.
right. Okay.
It's mad. But yeah, if it ever happens, you're in for a treat, even
Yeah.
if I'm not there, you know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I mean, it should happen because you just need the right venue. And imagine like that, like maybe in a church or something like that, that'd be
Funnily enough,
sort of
anyway.
Okay, cool. Right, Neil, let's get back to you. In terms of the label, Soundweight, it's a great label. I love it. I've got loads of Soundweights records. How did you first start the label and why?
Well, basically, I've made a track with Capo called Live Wire Feedback, and I kind of just thought, oh, do you know what? I'll just put it out on a 45 instead of like shipping it about and stuff. So yeah, that's kind of it really. And I just decided I needed to come up with a name, and I just came up with Soundweight and stuff, and then just put that 45 out, and that's how it kind of started. There's no real, it was just me wanting to put some of my own music out and come up with some kind of way of, promoting it like that. Yeah.
And how did it progress? Was it, it's never going to be easy, but was it okay to begin with, or was it a really hard struggle to get it off the ground?
No, I mean, to be honest with you, it was pretty, obviously it's changed compared to back in the day when obviously you were just sending promos out to magazines hoping to get a review and trying to get some kind of distribution deal. But I mean, obviously, as it's gone on, I mean, luckily, I was the first person to take a punt on the Funky Drummer remix by Joran, which nobody really wanted to put out. And I just messaged him out of the blue, and I was like, look, Jay, let me put this out as a 45. I think it'd blow, and he was kind of reluctant at first. But obviously, as time has gone on, we've kind of developed a really good friendship, and a really good, like, professional kind of approach. So like putting out the Funky Drummer was another thing that kind of blew the label up, along with another thing obviously regarding Matt. He kind of got me to release the Andy Cooper 45 that we put out, and then he wanted to put out the DJ Formats A to Z breaks.
It's a great record.
That out and stuff like that. That was kind of the earlier releases, and then obviously stuff by like DJ Drinks and things like that, and some of my stuff with Glad to Meet You, and things like that. Yeah, so yeah, it's been.
And so when was that then? When did you first put that 45 out from Joran initially?
It was 2016.
Okay. And have you seen the 45s scene since then get bigger, get smaller? How have you sort of seen go?
I mean, there wasn't really many people putting that type of stuff out. I mean, the thing is with Joran, I think he kind of gets labeled into the wrong kind of thing, that he basically rebuilds these tracks from scratch. I mean, like it's like, wow, like the way he builds it all up, and he adds his actual own instruments on top and things like that. So I mean, obviously he does all types of stuff, but yeah, I mean, when I first heard that Funky Drummer, I was kind of like, whoa, let's put this out, and we did it, and it sold out instantly. And then we did a repress with the I Know You Got Soul kind of remix thing on the flip, which is the different type of cover. And obviously, another person who really makes the label shine is Mr. Crumb. Daryl's just like, like having all these type of people on board, obviously with Mike and stuff like that, and Joran and all the other people who've passed through. Crumb is like next level detail, like the way he just, I would obviously, I've said to Mike before, I'd love to know what goes on in his head, and no, you wouldn't. But yeah, Daryl's just unreal. You know, the way he just does the Joran.
Well, let's
work.
That's the latest one, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
And we have those. I mean, tell us the story behind sort of having releases like this.
Well, this is
because these are one-offs, aren't they?
Yeah, they're like what I do basically. It kind of stems back to like the days of like the latter hip hop on Street Sounds, which when they went from electro, they went to hip hop 17 and stuff like hip hop 20, where there was the graph covers. And basically, I kind of just, when we did the Collecting Dust LP, I kind of did 10 different covers like that I just drew up in graffiti, and it's kind of just gone from there. Obviously, I do them now for the Joran, and I do all different. I actually like just enjoy doing them. It's just, yeah, it's just kind of a nerd thing, you know, a bit like I just kind of recreate the old records and stuff like that and do it.
And what are you using to do this?
I've used like the first ones I did. I just drew them all up one at a time and colored them all in. But now I'm kind of moving more onto Procreate. I obviously spray paint the backgrounds and photograph them and then put the work on top. Obviously, with having young kids, I don't have the time to just draw like 10 hours a day now. I have to kind of speed up my process. But yeah, I mean, I'm just kind of, I use all mediums, really. I draw with, as long as I'm doing, that's my attitude in anything. If it's making music, running a label, drawing, I just have to be doing something, you know, that's all that matters, as long as I'm doing something. You know? Yeah.
He says, can we take a minute to appreciate the illness of these pieces? So, yeah. But it's also creating something tangible, because obviously we all buy records, we all keep records, we love having records. But then it's like, okay, I want this record, but I want it, because we're collectors and we like unique things, to have something extra, because you're not just buying a different color, you're buying another piece of art, aren't you? You've got the record and then you've got the other piece of art that you've created as one of these 10 special editions. So then it's music and art at the same time you're buying into, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose I come from a different type of background to a lot of record labels, where I'm a graffiti writer. That's what I was, you know, that's what I've done all my life. Is just, I just love graffiti and letters. And I've also been a massive lover of records and collecting records. So it's kind of almost like my little nerdy thing of fusing them together and just kind of like, oh, you know, I'm going to have some fun here. And to be honest with you, they're like, and I don't mean this in an egotistical way, they sell out super quick. And I think that's kind of, I wish I could do loads more, but it's time, you know, and things like that, you know. So yeah, I enjoy doing it. I think I just sit at home and I'm kind of like nerding off them, you know. I'm like, oh, look at this, you know, I'm doing some, you know, it's the kid, you know, it's like being a 15-year-old again, you know. It's just, I just enjoy doing it. There's no like, you know.
Yeah.
And it's the same with Mike. I think, like, just going back to what Mike was saying, I was listening to his record today in the car again, and every time I listen to it, I find something new in it. It's like, oh, what's this little bit, you know? So, yeah, it's nice to be surrounded by people who just like to be super creative and things like that, and you know,
yeah, because it's also inspiring you, isn't it? Because obviously you're inspired to think, you know, where can I take the label next? You know, what's the next album that's going to come along, or what's Mike going to come up with next? You know, and that's also really exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that's what I really like. I like we're obviously, I wasn't apprehensive when I first heard this. I don't think about, I just kind of get lost in like, oh, can we imagine doing that? And the thing is, I didn't realize until about 3 or 4 days that it was Mike who designed, drew the illustrations for Formats, Devil's Workshop LP. So super late, my head started thinking, whoa, do you know what I mean? Because I remember just looking at these drawings and I was like, what is this? You know, who's done these? And obviously it was Mike, and I was just like, wow. So obviously that kind of got my head, you know, like ticking, and I was thinking, right, you know, this is going to be superb, you know. And obviously his Mrs. Natalie has done the collage work on the front, which is absolutely superb as well. I think it super fits to the music. It's just like, and then obviously when you flip it, you've got Mike's illustration, we've got an inlay and stuff like that with more stuff on. So yeah, it's a super nice package. So yeah.
as you mentioned, Natalie, obviously we've got to say congratulations on her exhibition over at the Brewhouse Project.
Wow.
That must be great. It must be brilliant that both of you have got something really exciting and really interesting in your creativity at around the same time.
Yeah, she kind of feeds me. I feed her. It's great, you know. I mean, yeah, I don't want to go on about it, but yeah, there hasn't. Every relationship I've been in has been completely wrong. This isn't. This is madness, like in a beautiful way. So yeah, it's, you know, I'll put, like, for example, I'll play her something that I was going to put on the new album, Neil, right? And I was quite happy with it. I went, yeah, this is wicked. This is going to be second bit to this, la la la. Played it to her, and she went, yeah, nah, it's not ready yet. And I'm like, do you know what I mean? And I think perhaps arrogantly that I could send it to you or Matt, and they would go, that's really good, because I was amped about it. But she was like, nah, it's not ready yet. And I've since gone back to that months later and gone, oh, yeah, she was right. It was just, it's just like, yeah. So, you know, it really, really works. I mean, it's brilliant to come home from work and see her, you know, drawing or whatever, and, you know, me doing my stuff. Yeah, it's just great. It's a good little partnership, and it's wicked. So yeah, thanks for bringing her up. Appreciate that.
That's awesome. We're going to say hello from DJ Asa. Says, been following your graph since the 90s. Wicked writer.
Thank you.
And it was great. Last weekend I was in Bristol and I hung out with DJ Asa for a few hours, had a few beers, went for a little wander. He was giving me a little graffiti tour of Bristol. So watch this space for a couple of those videos coming up soon. But yeah, big shout out to him. So yeah, where next then? I know you were working on a second album when we spoke last time. So how's that progressing? Yeah.
Me?
Mike, yeah.
Yeah, well, the honest answer to that is I just don't stop. I really don't. I have a lot of music in a backlog. I mean, prior to this album that's just come out, Neil's got another album of mine.
Right.
That we're sort of unsure about what to do with it, because it's very different. I think it's good, but it's so different that it almost is a different artist, you know? So we're sort of thinking about what to do with that. But apart from that one, there's pretty much another one done. I will send you soon. And various other bits and stuff that I'm doing with the tapes and all the loops and stuff. I'm gradually putting something interesting together with that. It's quite mad. I'm just constantly create. Like when I'm at work, I'm, you know, have a little bit of downtime. I'm thinking, get my notebook out, bang. Like I never stop. Whether that's a healthy thing or not, I don't know, but it works for me. You know?
Well, it's a positive addiction, and it seems to be reaping rewards and making you happy and giving joy to a lot of people. So then I guess it's a good thing, isn't it?
It keeps me sane. That's the that's what I'm after here.
These are hip hop boys. Yeah, I guess so.
Well, we have hats, you know.
Yeah, hats.
Yeah. Okay, Neil, tell us a little bit about the relationship you've got with Joron, and because there's quite a few you put out, and I know he's got his own label starting as well. But tell us about how that started. You said that you took a punt and put out one of his records, but how did the relationship grow from there?
I mean, we've obviously got a good relationship. Just keep it nice and professional with Joran. That's with him living in Canada. It's kind of like he just kind of hits me. He just hits me up with so many remixes and like new music all the time. And to be honest with you, a bit like Mike, he's just got so much. He just doesn't stop. He keeps working and making new stuff and things like that. So, I mean, we've put out quite a lot of records now over the last 6-7 years, and it's been fantastic. And yeah, he's starting his new label up, but that isn't stopping us from putting out. We've already got 2 or 3 releases sorted for next year already, which we're putting
Yeah.
out. So that's going to be absolutely brilliant. You know, we've got something which is super exclusive, which he's managed to get off somebody and it's never been heard before. So yeah, I think the next
Wow.
one's going to be something really good that we can't wait to drop. So yeah, it'll be.
So Rolling Adam's got a suggestion. Joran box set would be dope.
Yeah. A few people have said that.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, maybe further down the line.
Yeah,
Could
maybe.
be a exclusive 7 in there or something like that. So yeah. Mike, you might not have done this. Obviously, you manipulate tape, and obviously we've talked about visuals. Have you ever sort of done visuals or sort of manipulated videotape in any form?
Yes, is the answer to that. I don't know. I probably said this. I grew up in a video shop. My mum and dad's had a video shop.
Oh, yeah.
And I was fascinated by my dad getting. Sometimes people would bring back rental tapes and they would be chewed or something would be wrong with them, and they would just go in a pile to be repaired. How do you repair that? So my dad would take it home and get the splicing machine out, go chop, stick it together, put it back on the shelf, which is madness. Do you know what I mean? So you're losing a bit of a film, but no one ever said anything. The next person,
no one would know any different if they haven't seen it before. Unless there was a really massive scene change.
Back then, no one would know any different. So I was exposed to all kinds of horrific things. I got into special effects and all this sort of stuff. And with that, I wanted to make my own films. So I was out, making these mini ridiculous movies that I wish that I still had. My God, I would use them on everything. So there was my friends getting their heads cut off, all kinds of hideous things. But I have used visuals and stuff, and since then, when I grew up a little bit, obviously I've got Super 8 cameras and stuff, and I love it. I mean, I'm a massive cinema fan, and just it's a great art form, and yes, it's the answer to that.
So it'd be interesting to see, like we talked about before, a show at some point, and I think that's the way it's got to go, isn't it?
I think so. I mean, what with the art side of things and the music, and I don't even separate them. I mean, even down to the test pressings that I did. Have you got one there? You haven't got them, have you, Neil?
No.
If anyone has bought one, I think shipping starts next week, doesn't it? For the album.
I've actually started packaging them up. There's a load going off tomorrow to the post office. So
Right. So sorry, I told you tangents.
Just going to say hello to Jim Sharp. Jim Sharp says shout out to Kista Rival Self. Soundweight is a great label. Big shout out to Jim Sharp.
He's a hero. So these are the test pressings, okay? So it's got alternative artwork. I can't do this.
Hold on. We can. Let me get you here and I can solo.
Oh, don't do that.
There you
go. So that again is a collage that I cut up of all kinds of things. And this is Surface of the Moon and some other bits that you can't see on here. But these are amazing. I'm going to say it. I know I did it, but these look beautiful. And I pasted it on these gatefolds, and each one.
Wow.
Yeah. Each one has a completely different Rorschach test inside that I did. And on the back is the LP, and they're numbered.
Wow.
This is the first one. So these are, I know they're pricey, but god damn, I would buy one of these. These are wicked.
Are they still available?
Yeah, there's a couple left, but
I think literally a couple. I think there's like 2 left. So if you want them, get on Soundweight website. But they are. I'm chuffed myself that I've got one. So if you did get one, you're a lucky human being. I think personally. I know it's me, so it sounds a bit arrogant, but they are wicked. They're
great.
So nice.
Great.
Yeah.
Right. Let's rejoin that one. There you go. And we're back. Cool. So, Neil, obviously you sell a lot of 45s because a lot of release of 45s. Do you just see that the 45s community is going to get just bigger and more people? And do you sort of know what sort of demographic are buying your records?
I mean, there's two different ways I think about it. Obviously, the Juran's, he kind of has his own fan base and stuff like that. So, as you'll obviously know, but I think as time is going on now, I think he's got a lot bigger, and we've got a lot bigger in terms of like with different areas of the world who now take on our records and distribute them, and things like that, compared to when I was just, like putting out a few hundred copies on 45 to to a lot more interest and things like that. So yeah, it's definitely it's got bigger, but at the same time I still kind of like doing stuff with like Mike, who's kind of reinvented himself, and that's kind of the important thing, is to just I just kind of like the creative things. The wife does all the admin, the wife does all the parceling, because I'm just lost in like the creative side of things and stuff like that. So but yeah, it's going really good, and I just enjoy putting out records. It's kind of, along with like doing graffiti and making my own music, and then obviously doing the label as well. It keeps me busy and things like that. So yeah.
It's great to see. Right. Barty Cuts, we're going to drop the website link again. I think it is this one. I'll try and find it for a second. So, Mike, tell us about the show that you did pretty much straight after or soon after the last time you were on the show.
Okay. So I was kindly invited to the Scratch Barbecue that they run in Brighton every year. And they've been doing it for 16 years now. And Jim Manipulate, for whatever reason, decided to invite me. And I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I'm a bit of a risk,
Right.
So I've done it before, quite a few years ago. I've done it, I don't know, maybe about 4 or 5 times. But yeah, every time I show up, or have done in the past, I've done something slightly odd and slightly different to. Sorry, I've got pop up here for something. Yeah, slightly different to what everyone else is doing, or massively different, in fact. Let's be honest about it. So I'm just seeing what Pete's saying. So yeah, I turn up and I have my 4-track tape machine here. Anyone that follows me on Instagram, or has done for the past sort of year, will have noticed that I've started doing something slightly insane, really, and that's producing music with 4-second or 7-second tape loops, which is a really difficult thing to do, and there's no reason to do it, so don't get involved in it. It's just pure madness. It's just something that I was fascinated by, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to learn to do that, no matter how mad it makes me. So I did, and I've come up with quite a few routines with this thing that involve that, and you've got 4 different channels of sound that you can record on. So essentially, you can drop a beat, you can drop some weird sound, whatever, but they're always off. They're never quite right. You never quite know how it's going to work, which I really like. I like the fact that it's just
not sort of perfect, and it's not sort of just on top of each other. It's not a computer.
Yeah,
that's human manipulation to create that.
I like the fact that you never quite know what's going to happen, and you've got to react to that, which is mad, because I'm like I've said previously, I'm very pedantic about stuff and very specific. But this, it's really pushed me out of my comfort zone. And so I've got a turntable, and I had a bunch of effects pedals and stuff, this 4-track thing, and a loop pedal, and that was my show. And I was cutting over the cassette loops and what was on the loop pedal ready to trigger samples as the links, and I had all these effects and stuff, and I had it worked out really, really specifically you know, and I practiced and practiced and practiced, but no one would have realized that because it's quite loose. And the way I sort of presented it, it looks like I'm just sort of making it up, but I wasn't. You know, I kind of knew what I was doing. The bottom line is I was really nervous because I didn't know how it was going to sound in a live environment. I've never done it loud. I've never really done it outside of my headphones, to be fair. And I made Jim give me a mic and I did some mad monologue thing that I had planned over like some jazz beat thing. It was almost like performance art thing.
Nice.
Which went down wickedly and was really good. And
people like to hear people talk, though.
Yeah, I mean, I won't go into my past, but I used to MC, and I liked, you know, I like performing, and yeah, so I did that at the beginning over this mad jazz thing, and got everyone hyped, and went into it, and then did some bit in the middle, and then just finished it off. But yeah, I don't know, it went absolutely brilliantly, and like I say, I was really nervous. I've never done anything like that before in my life, ever. And I just went, right, I'm going to come out of retirement, as it were, with something that I've never tested, ever. And it was quite a big place to do it because you're in, you know, everyone in the scratch community goes to that thing. So it's either do or die, you know. So I just like, I'm either going to smash it or I'm just going to fail miserably, and Neil's going to have wasted his money. But it went really well. Yeah, I mean, Pete keeps piping up because he's lovely, but it went really well. Yeah, I was really pleased. You know, I instantly, I think I just swallowed an entire pint of whatever someone gave me afterwards, but because I was just shaking. But yeah, I think it went well.
When's the next one?
Well, there's a couple of in-stores that I'm doing soon, but I can't announce those yet because one, I don't know 100% when they are. I know where they are, but I can't do that yet either. Neil probably knows. I don't know. He's my manager now.
Cool. And yeah, I mean, it's been great having you both on. It's amazing that this connection through music and obviously through format and the fact that it's then got your connection with, it's Al, isn't it? Al Hansen with the visuals.
Al Hodgson. It is.
Al Hodgson with the visuals, and then it's art and it's music and it's visuals and it's been brilliant. Right, so I'm going to try and find someone to raid, see who else is on in a minute. But Neil, what's the next release? Is there a release planned at the moment? You've obviously just done the album.
There'll be nothing more now this year. This is the last one of the year, but then early next year we're dropping a new Joran 45. That's the next one. So yeah.
Cool. That's another 45, isn't it?
Yeah, that will be, yeah.
And is that coming before or after his label?
His new one on his label, because he messaged me today. I think is going to drop in the next couple of weeks. So you'll be able to order that and stuff like that in the next couple of weeks. And then after that one, it'll be the Soundweight release, probably late January, early February time, I reckon.
Nice. And Mike, obviously we've talked about, you're working on stuff all the time. So I'm looking forward to receiving the album. Yeah, it's been great having you on again. Thank you so much. And I'm so happy to see how well it's gone so far. And it'll be interesting to see where the journey sort of takes you next. But thank you both for being on the show. If you want to listen back, you can do so on Mixcloud. If you want to watch it back on YouTube, it'll probably be on Twitch for a couple of weeks as well. But thank you, everyone. We're going to go and raid out and see J1's son. And if you guys hang on there for a minute, we'll just have a quick chat after the show. But thanks, everyone, for watching, and take it easy.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you.